Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at the FlyWoo version of the DJI O4 Wide, the air unit set. So this is going to essentially in some form, way, shape, or another replace the original, the O4, or what I oftentimes refer to as the O4 Lite. Which is a good thing, and we're going to take a look at the footage as well as a few quick specs. Not that it matters, because the standard or V1 of the O4 is going away, but it weighed 9.26 grams. And this Pro version from FlyWoo weighs just a touch over 28 grams. But of course, we've got heat shrink on here. We've got a longer cable for those bigger quads you might need to install it in. There's two different mounting brackets, which will weigh this up as well. Inside the box, you get a lens cap, another wiring harness, various sorts of mounting screws, and the shorter, lighter cable, kind of more standard with what we used to see. So to remove this larger, heavier camera case, we've got two screws on each side. The larger mounting option weighs just about 3.8 grams. The smaller weighs 1.75 grams. But the camera still has two mounting options, so you don't necessarily have to, but it would sure maybe help secure the MIPI cable. You don't have troubles when crashes. Also, my original weight, I had this little lens protector on there, and that weighs just about a half a gram. Time to take off these plates. It does come with thermal paste, so you got a mess there to clean up if you don't want to have these plates on there. Yep, both top and bottom. The metal plates with their thermal paste weigh 5.55 grams. So about as stock as I can get because I don't have the true just DJI O4 Wide. This one from FlyWoo, stripped down, weighs 17.19 grams on my scale. And as a reminder, the original that we can't buy anymore is 9.27 grams. Looks like we've got 15 millimeters between the two mounting spots, and the native camera is 14 millimeters wide. And from front to back looks to be just about 21 millimeters. Top mounting bracket on this adapter looks to be about 16 millimeters top to bottom, and about 6 millimeters on the narrow spots. This mounting bracket brings it up to 20 millimeters for your mounting purposes. And with it connected to the camera, you get 23.5 millimeters. The slimmer adapter just has a center mounting hole, and it's about 18 millimeters wide, and on the camera it's 23.5 millimeters front to back. Before we get started watching the flight footage that I've recorded, it's really important to note that the gyro, which we have been hearing a lot about, gyro gate and stuff when it comes to the DJI boards and using a stabilization, FlyWoo themselves says on their website that it comes with the I-469D gyro. I think that's I, or is that 146.9D gyro? But that's the standard DJI gyro, and FlyWoo is replacing the MP66 with the MP66. So you may see that if you look closely at the board, and so that will have, as they put it on their website, frame compatibility. That might be kind of a compelling issue for any of you that really want the stabilized footage. If you're a general purpose flyer and you're not needing that stabilized footage, it probably doesn't matter to you whatsoever. If you're not familiar with gyrogate, you probably don't care about it anyways, but I thought for those that do care, I should definitely draw it out. And the flight footage that I've recorded came directly from this little guy right here, so it remains 1S compatible. This is the Firefly 18 from FlyWoo. As we look at the flight footage, I'm not going to really point anything out because I think many of you that are watching are going to be more adept at looking at what you do. So I'm just going to call a few things out. The first thing that I saw when I was looking at the footage, and you might want to specifically pay attention to this. I could be wrong. It could just be my vision, my perception, but it feels like there's a little bit of warping around the very edges of the picture. I noticed it, or I feel like I notice it when I am close to something as I kind of yaw or turn. It feels like it kind of warps past. Now, to me, it was just something that as I was watching the footage, I actually noticed it in the goggles as well. It doesn't bother me, especially with the big increase in field of view. I believe the original that is no longer, that is replaced, had the small camera, was like 117 degrees versus this is 159 degrees. And even FlyWoo's own camera that they came out with, the one that when you were looking at the goggles, it had a calibration error in the screen that you would see. Even that one was only 155, and that was a dramatic improvement. Of course, over the time with the DJI O4, we have seen magnification lenses and various sorts of adapters. I know people have been replacing the lenses. So there has been like a year or more's worth of work by people and manufacturers, not DJI, in trying to correct the issue that DJI launched the O4 with. It is great that it remains 1S compatible. It's just a little less compatible in my opinion. That's because in my opinion, I prefer performance over image quality. So I would have taken, if we could have gotten less image quality but still had the lighter weight, I would have preferred that. If we also had a bigger field of view. The smaller field of view I felt was difficult to fly, really difficult inside. Of course, I've done it across many videos, but if you are going to fly this on a micro, specifically a 1S micro, it's very important that the flight controller that you pick have a good strong back, and it needs to have a 2 amp back, and you can fly this down to, I think in my testing I flew it down to 3.2 volts and the video stayed running just fine. I don't know what the bottom threshold is, but 3.2 is at the point where you're starting to damage your battery, so you need to hustle in and land. If you're not in a dire strait, over the water sort of situation, you need to get down out of the air before that anyways. But I did various testing as far as running for lengths of time. Of course, I'm not flying the Pro set from FlyWoo. I'm flying the standard set in the quad itself. They sent the quad with the standard O4 Wide air unit set in it, and they shipped separately the Pro version, which has ND filters and it has all the different camera mounting options. It has the different camera cable length options. It has the metal plates, which I think if you're building something bigger, say 3-inch, probably or bigger, and you want to run the O4 Wide now, that those are good options, especially with the metal plates, and especially if you fly in a hot space and maybe it takes you a moment to get ready to go. I think those are all very good options. They did increase, check me on this, but I felt like that previously that you could only record, it was either 8 or 10 gigs on the onboard storage, and now it's 23. So I'm pretty certain that's a pretty big improvement. So that's really nice, especially for someone like myself. I used to have to come in and dump footage. Thankfully, I just have to go from the backyard into the house. But I was constantly worried about losing footage, and sometimes I would just have to fly and know that I was not going to get the onboard recording for that long flight, especially when I was doing flight time testing for various battery sizes. Instead of coming in and copying those down every time, I would copy when I got done with the flight session. So that meant some sessions had no onboard recording. I only had the goggles, so I just had to make that work. But now with this much larger storage, that's another perk. I won't force you to go look at the website. Of course, I am obliged to put a link to FlyWoo and wherever the FlyWoo DJI O4 Wide air unit set is sold. I'll link it down in the video description. Maybe affiliate links, might not be, doesn't matter to me. If you don't like that sort of stuff, you can just type in your favorite search engine or into your browser. If you have a browser that has a built-in search engine, which just about everything does, just type in FlyWoo DJI O4 Wide air unit. You can also take a lot of this information and relate it back to the stock DJI here in the States. I think that's still really hard to get stock DJI products unless it comes within something else like a quad. So we'll see how that goes as time changes and the evolution of how that sort of business and governmental wranglings tend to come around. Very happy that they increased the field of view. I think we needed that pretty bad. I lament the fact that the weight has gone up. And that's specific to me as a guy who really likes micros. I was recently looking at maybe doing a redesign of my favorite 2-inch 2S to where it would be more compatible with various HD-based video systems. I'm probably not going to do that, or if I do, it's going to take even longer now that the camera has changed on the DJI, because I know that it's very popular to fly DJI, even though I'm more performance based over image quality. But we just have so many different systems on the market. I wanted to have something that at the very least for me, I could just fly various HD systems in it in my preferred platform. And so one day if I wanted to fly this sort of system, I could, or another system on another day. The old DJI O4 is gone, and now we are going to see this and the stock DJI derivative of the new O4 Wide. Again, there'll be links down in the video description where you can find this. If you do have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in the comments section below. I appreciate your time. And thanks for watching.